Hello, everybody. Good evening and welcome to EduTALK. We are here once again, another week, winding down to school, winding down to the end of summer, the end of one thing, the beginning of another. And we're here with EduTALK and Dr. Barker and myself. We're here. You know who we are already. We're talking about policy. Last time we met, well, a couple last times ago, we talked about screen time, devices and screen time, and if we're paying attention to what our students are on, our kids, parents, likewise, teachers and administrators, to see how best we can tackle the problems around screen time and devices. This evening, we're talking very briefly about the policies, cell phone policies, and device policies in general. Just some simple ways of dealing with the devices in school as we end summer and begin the new school year. And every year it's like a restart. And some people don't really like going back to school after this long summer. They feel like they're set in their summer ways and thinking that this is life. But whether we like it or not, we're spending our days at school or at work in general. And that is our life. Every year we get older and we need to be wiser. But what we realize is that our students and even adults too spending a lot of time with these devices, and they need to scale back a little bit. It's funny to say they need to scale back. Dr. Barker, I was staying at a resort, and a couple of days ago I'm picking up some food in the line. It's an all-inclusive, so you come in and you get the food. And I'm going over to the ackee and the saltfish in the morning for breakfast. And I put it down and I look across and I saw a lady with her phone. She's juggling the phone, watching a video. Those one of those videos that you swipe up and you watch another one. And she's watching it. And she has the plate in her hand too. This is an adult, big probably middle-aged woman with the phone holding it and cannot put it down because she has to watch this video. And I peek over to look at what is so important with this thing in a line. And it's only one of those videos, simple videos that any student or anybody would watch. It's entertainment, little things. But it's so hard for her to put on the phone, and she put it right where you would pour the porridge or the soup. So I can imagine if that little bowl, the spoon, the soup spoon, if it slip any at all, it pour right on the.
Water into it, liquid into it. No, it is a one of the challenges that we have when it comes to school and kids is that one of the key issue that we have is that while parents want their kids to have good phone behavior,
Mhm.
they are not modeling it at home.
Right.
And the difficulty for that is that students and children, as they're growing up, they observe the adults around them. And
Yeah.
so the adult seems to treat the mobile phone as a particularly indispensable thing. Then they believe in their natural instinct for survival,
Mm-hmm.
that they should be treating it in a similar way. So what we're seeing and what you're describing is the kind of modeling that leads to children modeling, copying that kind of behavior, and
Mm-hmm.
then manifests itself in schools and in even their social behavior. So it's a tricky one because what you're describing also, when you say it, I'm not in a position to say to you, oh, that is strange. When you say it, I'm like, well, I've seen this all the time. It's the sad part,
Yeah,
right?
it's true. It's
Because
very true.
if you had said it to me, I would say, really, that's really an odd behavior. Then maybe the society and civilization have a chance. But
Yeah.
what you're describing, I can very, very quickly say to you, not unusual, not unusual. And
Yeah.
you know, yeah, it's just one of those things. And I think, where do we go from there?
Yeah.
Where do we go?
Yeah, you're right. So I have maybe two questions. One of the things that we ask, because we have to respect people's rights. So one of the questions I look at is, should we make, as an administrator, you're an administrator, a principal in one prestigious school in England, and as we think about this, how should we make a classroom cell phone policy in our schools, and do students have cell phone policy in the school? And then the third spin-off question that we can grapple with is, and we don't have to answer these directly, is do they have behavior that are surrounding responsible use of cell phones coming from the home? Based on what you said, that some of the parents are not even modeling these behavior. So how they come in the school and they behave in terms of policy, and how they react to this, and how will they react to it, especially when some schools now in the Caribbean, Jamaica, for example, we understand Jamaica and the Caribbean, they might not have cell phone policies other than when you come into the school, put the cell phones away in your pocket. And if you see the cell phone, just confiscated it. Or you suspend the student. There's no other um grappling behavioral norms around cell phones. Like, okay, I see you with your cell phone. Did you get the permission from a teacher to use a cell phone in a class? Why are you walking around with a cell phone? Is something wrong or so on? There's no debate or conversation around it. It's like, give me the cell phone. I see you with it. Give me the cell phone. You know?
So I can speak about my school because it's a factual piece.
Yeah.
This is not a policy that I implemented. It's one that I inherited, but definitely agree with and has been quite strident in ensuring that it continues.
Because it's good.
So our students, obviously, they take the school bus coming in, and they do need to have some ways in which they can contact their parents. So we allow them to have their mobile phones on when they travel
Mhm.
towards school, but as soon as they enter the area that is considered to be the middle school area, they have to turn their phone off and put it in their locker.
Oh.
And they do not have the rule pretty much is that it should not be seen again. It should be missing from sight. And they are not allowed to use it, but sight is maybe the only way we could actually follow up. If we see it, then we know that they are using it.
Mm-hmm.
And so they do not pick that up until at 3:20 when school ends. And even
Mm-hmm.
if they go to activities on site, they're not allowed to have it until they are leaving the site because they need to communicate with their families. They need
Mm-hmm.
to be safe. The family need to feel confident that they can contact them at certain time. And if something should happen, like an accident, then the family can still communicate with them in order to help them to be safe or to feel reassured. So we cannot, I don't think in a sensible way it could be applied in any other way. So they're not allowed to have it at all in school. Now,
Yeah.
there are moments where there were some teachers who might have an activity that they feel that if child have a mobile phone, then they would be able to execute that activity with a lot more efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
We used to allow that. I think this year we are moving towards none at all. And
Oh.
one of the reasons is one of the key things. And I know that that graphic that we talked up, we're
Yeah, I'm
talking
gonna
about.
share it.
If we did up, I want to just hit on a
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
important part that is on that graphic. And
Mm-hmm.
really, there's only one part of this graphic that really everyone need to get to. And it
Mm-hmm.
is not the policy and not the part that says, how can you and your child connect during the day? There's a piece that says why. And anyone who questions about mobile phone and whether it should be in school or not need to focus on this very, very important thing. Cell phones can be harmful to relationships and to
Yes.
learning, which are the two most important aspects of school. Let that sink in,
Yes. Yes.
because school is about learning. Nobody is debating that. And cell phone can affect learning because it serves as a distraction. Students are not focusing in class, they're checking their mobile phone. And so they can't learn because for you to learn, you have to be listening actively,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
The second part is relationships. The social ones, if you're on your phone, you're not talking to each other. the antisocial ones where people say negative things about each other, again, the distraction. And it's so if learning in school is reliant on relationships, if your relationships aren't strong, and so on. So what I like about this particular thing, which was found online,
Yes, yes.
that simple thing, cell phones can be harmful to relationships and to learning.
Mhm.
These are
I
the
really
two
like
very
that.
important aspects of
Mm,
school.
mm.
And so if the cell phone is going to harm those two things, what's left in school? And we're seeing that in the schools where cell phones are prevalent, that this is the thing. So I am not anti-mobile phones, but I believe that in the moment where students are still not able to self-regulate
Mhm.
the use of mobile phones, uh, the best thing to do is for them not to have it.
Yeah, I like the part with the relationships, harmful to relationships. So, because it's another way of um it's another way of being isolated from everybody else. And when you talk about it, Dr. Barker, and this one, guys, this you can find online. Dr. Barker shared it with me um on or from phone sharing. So you can look it up. It's not us, and credit to the people who created it. It's very good. So Dr. Barker, when you share this with me, it reminds me of the isolation behavior and digging into our own self. It's really self-harming in terms of social interactions with each other, not even for academic purposes, but what school is created for probably two primary things: to learn, yes, academically, but it's for socialization.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
So
very
the mobile
simple.
phone is
Yeah.
a is a serious inhibitor
Yeah,
of
of
both,
such things.
of both,
And
of
one other
both.
thing we look at to Dr. Bar, I look at when I saw this is the the idea of networking. We do well as social beings face to face to talk to people. Even people who are introverts will say that I like one-on-one conversation with one person, not the whole
Yeah,
crowd. Yeah. Sometimes I don't really like the cell phone. I like to talk to people. I like to go out and I engage with people. So the cell phone, yes, it's very good for long distance relationships, and it doesn't have to be a romantic one. It could be your family and friends and so on, where you can video call them and so on. But
yeah.
when
But
it
that's
comes to,
outside of school, you see. I
yes,
mean,
serious relationship.
outside of school, because I mean, our policies are if a parent need to contact a child, call the office. We will then find the child. That's the easiest way to get to a child anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
If a child needs to call their parents, they can come to the office. They can make the call as well. In fact, I'm even going further this year, which I'm actually putting together something now, is that last year I spoke to my students, and one of the things I've asked them to do as a safety tool is to memorize one mobile phone. They need to know
For
in their
emergency.
one person mobile phone that in case they're in a scenario, they should be able
Yeah,
to
I agree with that.
call that number
Mm.
because all of our children are going around with a mobile phone feeling safe. But what if their battery died and they're in an emergency scenario? They
Yeah,
don't know how to call anyone. You're not safe anymore. You're even worse off now because you thought you were safe and then you realize that even if someone comes to you and say you're lost, I'd like to help you.
yeah,
Is your number? Who do you want me to call?
yeah,
No, many students, maybe I'd say 90%, 95%, have no idea what their parents' numbers are because in their head, it must be in their phone. And
yeah,
so I've started a little bit a thing with my kids to say, you need to memorize a number. And I'm going to let the parents know that this is a requirement almost for middle school, that they must know at least one number in their head. And they
mm,
should ensure that over the first 2 weeks that they do drill that in.
yeah,
Because they come to the office and they'll say, can I call? And I say, what's your parents' number? They don't know. I said, then no, we have to get in the system, which we do, no
yeah,
issues. But I realize that there's a thing that's happening that our reliance on
mm,
the mobile phone is making us unsafe.
yeah, that's wrong. Yeah, it's very wrong.
And
And even their
it's not
address.
in my kids only, it's just right across the world
Yeah,
that no
it's
one is
happening.
memorizing.
Yeah.
No, you
Even
know.
their address too. They need to know that their street address. They need to know.
Well, they don't know that, but I can tell you that the mobile phone, which is mobile phone, yeah, both they need to know. But
Yeah.
as we, maintain that point, just to show
Yeah.
you some of the vulnerabilities.
Dr. Barker, with you and administrator, I'm very like really, I look up to your leadership a lot in school. Um, do you think the policy, because you're a deep thinker, with policy around screen time and just devices in general, policy wise, do you think the school should insist on parents um implementing some form of policy in terms of behavior on devices, or you think that the school might be overreaching
The
to
school, the school, at the moment, from a legal standpoint, the school is overreaching.
okay.
From a legal standpoint, in the sense that it's not once the kids leave the site, our responsibility or duty of care diminishes every step that they take away from the school compound. And
Wow.
when they're within the care of their parents, we have no jurisdiction, no force that
Yeah.
could make. So the only way, but yes, the issue that schools face is
Yeah.
and I think every principal, every school leader will agree with me, is that in the olden days when you were a principal and you ran a school, and I wasn't a principal in the olden days, but I'd imagine that what I'm saying is pretty much close to the truth.
Right.
Issues that you have to deal with quite likely would have happened between the hours between when the school gates open and when the school gates close, or just after,
Right.
right after school or something. But you would normally be handling issues that began at 8 a.m. and somewhere between 8 o'clock and say 5 p.m. it happened.
Yeah.
Somewhere there's a gray area where that starts, but when they're on the campus, you know that it's your problem. And
Yeah.
the issue that principals dealt with would have originated on site, quite likely with people present,
Yeah.
quite likely teachers in adults are somewhere around it in
Mm-hmm.
most instances.
Yeah.
Now, I'd say I'm certain that in the last 10 years, for sure, because I dealt with an issue up to 2014, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the last 10 years, principals are dealing with issues, and there's a shift in terms of a sea change in terms of the origination of these incidents
Mm-hmm.
from on the school site to on the parents' sofa, in the sense that the children are home and
Mm-hmm.
you're dealing with issues that happen between 8 o'clock, 8 p.m., and maybe 12 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
that they happen at that time, but they turn up at school.
Oh.
Meaning the issues are still, they're happening there, but
Mm.
they're turning up at schools for me to resolve. And like
Yeah.
any principal, you end up with relationship issues, and you can't go where it didn't happen at school.
Yeah. You know why I
Individual.
think about this is other things can happen outside with a student and the school said, nope, you're a student in this school, so we're not gonna tolerate that, and I'm thinking, but if
You
that
can,
thing happened, out there, isn't
you
this,
can,
yeah, you can, right?
you can. And
Yeah.
schools have long been doing that. They hear that students from their school did something wrong on the weekend, they can establish, because that only works when
Mm-hmm.
the partnership between you and the parents is such that you are afforded a certain latitude in
Right.
how you discipline and consequences.
Mm-hmm.
But and that's really where schools are now, in the sense that parents, that partnership is being asked to be seen, because the difference here is that schools maybe would be dealing with massive issues that happened outside of school.
Yeah, exactly.
And in that sense, they are massive. So it kind of
Yeah.
makes sense that someone needs to do something about it. And normally those incidents that we're talking about would
Right.
have led to some serious sanction like expulsion or suspension.
Right.
Anything else, school didn't show any interest in. They'd be like, well, it didn't have, you know. But what we have now is that the small things that happen in school, very small things, are now happening outside of school, but they are turning up in school as matters to be resolved.
That's
Friendship issues,
yes.
name calling,
Yes.
maybe bullying, but not necessarily even really bullying, just some
Yeah.
expression of maybe a group behavior against another, which happens in like a chat room.
Right.
So as it happens on the sofa, is that the child is on the phone communicating with someone, either bullying or being bullied, and the parent might be living in the living room thinking that their child is home and safe, or home and not doing anything wrong,
Yeah.
but they're doing it right there.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem you have is that nowadays children are in what I call a 24-hour friendship,
Yes.
meaning they do not have any other friends except their school friends. So whoever is their friend at school becomes their friend when they go home because they
Mm-hmm.
continue to talk to them in
Yeah.
chat rooms. And
Yes.
so the stakes for these friendships are much higher than they used to be.
Mm-hmm.
So you do not have an escape. If
Yeah.
you go home and there's a fallout with people in your chat groups, these are your classmates at school
Yeah.
and school.
And you can't turn them off.
You can't, so now you have the problem of you'll have to come to school tomorrow to see them.
Yeah.
That's difficult. It's difficult because there's no escape. Because
Yeah.
if they unfriend you online, they are not going to see you at school tomorrow and talk to you as if they're going to talk to you like you had a verbal face-to-face disagreement. They're not talking to you. And so
Yeah.
you can't come to school because the same friends that you had at school are not friends anymore. That's a very, very
It's very
difficult thing.
serious.
So to
Barker,
come
you're
to
really
your point about
yeah.
parents managing screen time, yes, the school can guide, but it's parents who will have to understand. I don't think many parents understand the dangers. So
No.
they do not up they have we made, and I may be guilty in some ways as well. They haven't made the right choices early enough in my child's formative years. And it's difficult to manage that backwards without
Yeah.
creating conflict.
Yeah.
But
Attention.
so I'm talking to my youngest children's parents now to get them to come on board and understand that they have a big responsibility.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm saying things to the students and saying the same thing to the parents, meaning that the parents can lean on to us and say, the school say that you can't have your phone between these times.
Mm-hmm.
And
You
those are the
really
kind
need
of,
Barker, you need to do a workshop. You really need to do a workshop on this concept that you coined, 24-hour friendship,
it
because
resonates with you.
it no, it's serious. Yes. Yes, it's very serious. And it's happening. I mean, I have been this summer alone, I've been to different countries, far reach to different countries, and I'm seeing the same problem. It's a 24-hour friendship, and the parents, the principals across the region, the Caribbean region, they're having the same issues, just like what they talk about, the same exact problems they're having with they might, and it's not to be honest with you, it's not the device's problems. It's the opportunity that the device lends itself to these students to constantly keeping in touch. That is the problem. If they can break the friendship, just like when we're going to school and we say bye-bye to our school friends, I'll see you tomorrow. And then you reach your village or town or district or community, and you have a different set of friends and you play with them in the evening and you don't see them tomorrow morning and you go to a
Even if you fall out with them, it doesn't
yeah,
matter. You
yeah,
can go to school and have your
have a
friends.
different yeah. So your
And
mental
the same
health
for school. But
is
there's no escape for our kids.
there's
The
none. It's
majority of our kids are stuck in a 24-hour friendship. And the stakes are so high. The other problem that our children face is
mhm,
that the groups that they're in, the barriers to exit and entry are non-existent. If you don't
mhm.
like the people in the group, you can just leave. Yep. So
Yes,
their relationships they don't need to face up to the consequence of walking away from a relationship because
right.
the out of it is contained within a phone screen. And so if I don't like you, I can kick you out the room, or I can just walk out, I can just leave.
Mm-hmm.
And
Physically.
so it literally means that I don't have to be invested in building a relationship. I don't have to be invested in resolving a conflict. I can
Mm.
just leave.
Yes.
So these friendships are so fragile, and everybody knows that the friendship are so fragile that they're unwilling to challenge certain behaviors because they can be easily ostracized, meaning you
Mm-hmm.
could just see so and so have removed it from the group, or everyone has left the group. So a lot of kids are trapped in these little groups that
Mm-hmm.
they don't want to do something about, but they cannot because the barriers to exit. Now, when you were friends, when you were younger, physical friends, if you make a decision not to be friends with someone, you
Mm-hmm.
know have to navigate all the other things about. But what happens as well is that you realize that because you have to interact,
Yes.
might more be willing to try and resolve the
And
situation
resolve it. Yes. Yes.
because your friendship wasn't inside of a screen.
Yes.
You're have to see the person in the lunch line. You might have to play football with them. You might
Yeah.
have to talk to them because they are friends with some of your friends. So you
Mm-hmm.
might go, "You know what? Let me try and resolve it." But
Mm-hmm.
they don't have that. They don't not have that incentive. It is easy for them to just clip someone off, have friendship with one person, and that is their world, and that's it. So it's a tricky world. I'm
It
trying to
is.
educate the community about it as much as I can because
Yeah.
we've sleepwalked into it,
Yeah.
and
Let
no,
me share this again. Everybody, and we're winding down. So this very great sharing, Dr. Barker. Very, very good sharing. Again, guys, Dr. Barker found this online. It's not our creation. It's not his
yeah, it's
creation.
just an interesting one.
Share.
For me, the why stood out for me.
Yeah, yeah, it's very good. And the why, yes, the why, it's the cell phones are very dangerous to relationships. So you want
Yeah,
to make
man.
sure that you
Can
create some
continue another
policy.
time.
Yeah, yeah.
Talk another time. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Create some policies around the cell phones and please put them away in your school. Make sure that at the beginning of the day you put them away. All right, everybody, walk good, enjoy your week. As you prepare for the new year, we'll be rolling out some of these things that you can think about getting into the new school year. Walk good, everybody. Remember, Google us, edusolutionsintl.org, edusolutionsintl.org. That's our website, or just Google us, Education Solutions International. This has been EduTalk. Walk good, everybody. We'll see you next week with another story like this.
All
Bye.
right. Bye-bye.